Who here tends to procrastinate? Yeah, I do too. I love to do things at the last minute. I don't know why. It's just something I've gotten really good at. Now, some of you may know, myself and the baseball players were not here last week, but I was well aware of the topic for the speech being due. So I'm sitting there on a bus headed up to Redding, California, freaking out at the fact that a topic is due in 3 hours, and I'm drawing blanks. Then, I was sent a sign. I look on my left arm, and I see an ant. I go, seriously? An ant? And I remembered a story. I don't know if some of you can relate, but during the summer in the high desert, ants love to get in your house and go after foods, juices, anything you leave on your counters or exposed. Hundreds, thousands it seems like, swarm the area and feast, thanking you for being stupid enough to leave something out. Well, the summer going into my junior year, I was sitting on my bed with a bowl of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. I sat there and watched a movie and ate the ice cream, and got that feeling you get after you eat, where sleep sounds like the best thing ever. So I fell asleep with the bowl of ice cream on my lap. Yes, it was empty, but there was some residue of the ice cream, and these ants will take whatever they can get. I wake up at around 1 in the morning, covered in ants. My legs, my lap, my bed, everything. I jumped up, ran to the shower, and got all the ants off, and spent the next hour using Raid and placing ant traps all over my room. I've never left any type of food in my room ever again. Although it was a brutal outcome, I thought it was pretty cool how these insects found their way to the food in a matter of hours. So with that being said, I will be informing you guys on ants. I will be doing this by naming some really cool facts that caught my eye, so I'm hoping they'll do the same for you. Yeah, it was pretty uncomfortable to wake up covered in ants, but come on, the fact that they came to me in a matter of hours was pretty dang cool. Terminix.com says that ant smell comes through their antennae, and they actually have 4 to 5 times more odor receptors than any other insect. A particular type of ant, the worker ant, is the one responsible for tracking down food, getting it, and returning it to the queen. The worker ants are wingless, female ants, and these creatures will travel up to 100 yards from their nest to find food. 100 yards, an entire football field's length to find food for their queen. When a small group of worker ants leaves the nest in search of food, they leave a pheromone trail from their nest. Once they find the food source, they follow that same trail back to their nest. And while they follow the trail back, they reinforce the pheromone trail so it doesn't lose its scent. Once they return to the nest, they inform all of the others of the food source they use, and they'll use the trail to feast. That's why there's times when you are in the kitchen and notice a handful of ants, maybe 2 to 10. The group is sent first to scout out for some food. Then in a matter of an hour or so, there's hundreds all over your counters, enjoying whatever delicious food you left out. Everyone at some point in their life has seen ants. And here in the high desert, we really have 4 main types, so we think. There's the little red ones that we know as fire ants, then there's the big red ones, then there's the small black ones that chill in the deserts, and lastly, we have the big maroon ones that really hurt if they sting you. My point is, those are the only kinds of ants I recall. Those 4. But did you know there are over 12,000 different species of ants? The massive number of ants that exist on this earth is almost uncountable. Estimates say there could be around 100 trillion ants on Earth, weighing in at about 44 billion kilograms, or just over 97 billion pounds. So next time you think about the 100 ants in your kitchen, think about the other 100 trillion that aren't bothering you. Ants are small, right? And typically when we see something of that size, we consider it to be weak and tiny. But actually, according to pestworldforkids.org, an ant can lift up to 20 times its body weight. Now that might not seem like a lot considering how small an ant is, but let me put it in perspective for you. If that same math was relevant to a 2nd grade child, they would be able to lift up a car. Doesn't seem so small now, does it? Ants will use this ability to carry big chunks of food back to their nest, and even other materials for the nest. Speaking of their nests, you ever seen one? You know, those little holes in the ground that ants go in and out of all day? Well, these holes aren't that little. In fact, Wikipedia says the size of their nest depends on the size of the colony. The average colony will contain about 500 worker ants in the summertime, but that number could quadruple in the wintertime to ensure the queen has everything she needs. Although a colony isn't all that big, there are certain colonies that are insanely large in size, what we know as super colonies. To this day, Wikipedia says the largest super colony ever recorded was in Hokkaido, Japan. Here, a colony with an estimated 306 million ants and about 1 million queen ants lied underground. It was all connected through underground passages with about 45,000 nests and had an overall length of 670 acres. Most places usually have one colony with around 1 to 20 nests. But maybe you'll get lucky or unlucky and find out you're in the presence of a super colony. Now, if you look at a human organism, you think about the things that are within us so we can function properly. One of those things is a complex, well put together respiratory system. Obviously, our lungs are key, and how we manage to inhale and exhale oxygen are essential. But did you know that ants have no lungs? According to westernexterminator.com, ants' small sizes makes them incapable of having a respiratory system like ours. Instead, these small insects breathe oxygen through their spiracles. Their spiracles are small holes on the sides of their body that allow them to take in and release oxygen. These spiracles are connected to tubes which circulate through just about every part of the body so oxygen can reach every place needed. A big thing that helps oxygen move through the ant's body is their movement. This is why you look on the ground and an ant is never idle. If the ant was to remain still, the oxygen would fail to flow through its body successfully. So you can highly conclude from this that if they were to sit still, it would probably die. I guess we should be thankful then that we were able to rest and be idle then, huh? You know, when I first decided that I was going to do a 7-minute speech on ants, I was kind of worried I'd get bored halfway through. But that wasn't the case at all. Some of these facts really did shock me, and I knew if they impressed me the way they did, I knew they'd do the same for you guys. During the entire time I researched, getting all these crazy facts, I couldn't help but to think how crazy it is that God makes things so small but so functional. God constructed the small little creature to function properly, even though it doesn't do things the way humans do it. I'm glad I was able to share some interesting facts about ants, and hopefully you all learned something from my speech. Lastly, I don't know where it is, but thank you to the ant that was on my arm on that bus. Without him, I don't know what I would have submitted that day. Thank you.